Welcome everyone to today's webinar. Thanks for spending some time with us. This month's topic is Trump-era tariffs and the AI supply chain, what local leaders and tech decision makers need to know. I'm Alex, and today I'm joined by Sam. We're unpacking the impact on artificial intelligence development and supply chains. We'll look at what's happening, who it's hitting hardest, and what it means for U.S. competitiveness.
Hey everyone, glad to be here. This is one of those topics that's easy to overlook unless you're on the ground dealing with procurement, hiring, or development delays. But the effects are real, especially for the folks building the infrastructure behind AI.
Exactly. We're going to focus specifically on the Trump-era tariffs that were reinstated and expanded in early 2025, and how they've rippled through the AI sector, impacting hardware supply chains, talent pipelines, and global competitiveness.
We'll walk through 5 key areas. A quick refresher on the tariffs, what they are and who they hit. The impact on AI hardware, especially GPUs and semiconductors. How these costs are affecting startups, universities, and cloud providers. Talent mobility and global research partnerships. Long-term implications and where things might go from here.
So, starting with the basics, in April 2025, the Trump administration brought back sweeping tariffs under the America First agenda. It included a 10% baseline tariff on all imports. Reciprocal tariffs targeting countries with large trade surpluses, 34% on China, 32% on Taiwan, 25% on South Korea, 20% on the European Union.
And these countries aren't random. They're central to the AI supply chain. China for general electronics, Taiwan for advanced semiconductors, and South Korea for memory chips.
Even chip-making tools from places like the Netherlands and Japan were hit, including lithography machines that are vital for U.S. chip fabs. So this wasn't just a political move. It had real technical consequences.
Let's talk about those consequences. First up, hardware costs. One example is NVIDIA's top-end GPUs used for training large language models. A 25% tariff on those could add several $1,000s per unit.
Multiply that across racks of GPUs for a data center, and you're easily looking at millions in added costs. Amazon and Microsoft, which are each spending over $300 billion this year on AI infrastructure, are absolutely feeling it.
And they're passing some of those costs on. Analysts expect price hikes in cloud AI services, which could ripple out to AI startups, researchers, and even local governments using these platforms.
It's not just GPUs either. Servers, networking gear, even the aluminum in computer cases got hit with tariffs. Every part of the pipeline is getting squeezed.
So what did companies do? Some stocked up. HP, for example, built up inventory ahead of tariff deadlines. Others tried to move production out of China to places like Vietnam or Mexico.
But that's easier said than done. Supply chains take years to build, and chip production isn't like making t-shirts. You need clean rooms, cutting-edge tools, and highly trained engineers.
Meanwhile, the CHIPS Act, signed in 2022, is pumping money into U.S. semiconductor manufacturing. But building a new fab takes 3 to 5 years. So even with that help, it's not a quick fix.
And ironically, the tariffs also made that effort more expensive. Many chip-making tools are imported, and they were hit with 20%, 30% tariffs too. So now even domestic production costs more.
Here's where it really starts to bite: startups and universities.
Right. If you're a small AI company, you don't have the luxury of absorbing extra hardware costs. Tariffs cut into your margins or delay your roadmap. One founder said it bluntly: we had to choose between buying more GPUs or hiring another engineer.
And in university labs, it's even tougher. Most operate on fixed grants. If the cost of GPUs or servers goes up 30%, they either buy fewer or delay projects entirely.
This has knock-on effects: fewer experiments, less data, slower research timelines. That can mean missed opportunities, especially in fast-moving fields like AI.
Let's shift to talent. Tariffs don't directly affect people, but the policy environment matters.
Exactly. During Trump's first term, we saw more visa restrictions and an overall chilling effect on high-skilled immigration. That returned in 2025, with tech workers on H-1Bs told to avoid overseas travel for fear they couldn't return.
That matters because over 60% of U.S. AI PhDs are foreign-born. If we make it harder for them to stay or collaborate internationally, we're limiting our talent pool.
And that's forcing companies to make hard decisions like opening R&D hubs in Canada or Europe instead of hiring in the U.S.
Big tech has the resources to adapt. Google, Meta, Amazon, they can afford to move supply chains or build workarounds.
But small firms can't. That's creating a risk where the cost of staying in the AI race becomes a barrier to entry, and innovation gets concentrated in just a few hands.
And ironically, that runs counter to the goals of the tariff policies to bolster U.S. industry. Instead, we may be favoring incumbents and slowing down the next generation.
So what happens next? Well, there's a chance the CHIPS Act eventually balances things out, if domestic production ramps up and if the government sticks with long-term investment.
But a lot depends on what happens with immigration, trade stability, and international cooperation. If the U.S. gets isolated technologically or diplomatically, it could cost us our edge in AI.
The other wild card? Retaliatory tariffs. China has already hinted at tightening rare earth exports. Those are critical for everything from AI hardware to green energy tech.
Let's wrap with a few takeaways. Tariffs raised AI infrastructure costs, especially for compute-heavy startups and research labs. Domestic manufacturing is growing, but not fast enough to cover the short-term pain. Talent uncertainty, especially around immigration, is quietly compounding the problem. Strategic planning, diversified sourcing, and active policy engagement are essential right now.
If you're in local government, higher ed, or running a tech startup, this is the time to rethink your supply strategies and stay close to the policy environment. Change is happening fast, and you don't want to be caught off guard. Sam, thanks for coming on to today's webinar and sharing your insights with us.
Alex, thanks for having me on today. Really enjoyed the conversation.
If you want a copy of today's presentation and the deep research by Grok and Gemini on the impact of tariffs on AI, be sure to comment below. Thank you to everyone who joined today's webinar. Next month, we will be discussing how AI can help rural communities with their grant applications. Hope to see you all there.